Hello, and welcome to another show, another episode of Real Women Atlanta Live. I am happy to be here today with you, and joining me is my co host, Deidre Gary. Deidre, as always, say hello to the people.
Hello, good people, and welcome to a great day in the neighborhood.
As always, we're excited about this show. We've had some amazing shows in the past, and we're looking forward to this show today because tomorrow is Father's Day, and um, and so our guest today is she is an author. She is an entrepreneur. She is an advocate for fatherless daughters. And I think that a lot of us can relate to what she talks about, what she advocates for. Being one myself, and I know that there's a great number of other women, girls that are fatherless or who grew up fatherless. Sometimes you can have a father that's present, like maybe in the home, but still not be present, or simply not have a father that's connected at all. And our guest today, she's going to talk about some of the effects that it has on our lives when we grow up without having a father present. Some of the decisions that we tend to make as women, girls, as opposed to those who do have their fathers present in their life. So let's start by saying Happy Father's Day to all of the incredible fathers that are out there. There are some that just do an amazing job. And so we want
There are
to,
many. There are many that
yeah,
do an
there are
amazing.
many, there are many. We definitely want to, say Happy Father's Day and acknowledge those fathers who do. We're waiting on our guests to come in. So, Deidre, is there something that you want to say about?
Yeah, I definitely want to just kind of piggyback on what you were saying concerning just the importance of having a father in your life. For of course young men to teach them how to be men, and young women to show them how they should be treated as a young lady, how to conduct themselves, and we can go out in the street and hear from another gentleman or another young man about specifics on, well, you look like this, or you this and that. But if you hear that in the home, and you hear that up under your look, I'm getting distracted, and you hear that as well, from your father, then it puts a foundation within you. I know for sure as a young lady and experiencing that. I grew up in the household with my mother, my grandfather, as well as my grandmother. So
Mhm,
my grandfather was that father figure in the home with me.
mhm,
Um, there were, of course, some other systematics, adult stuff that was going on concerning, my dad and or dads with that particular, anyway. But long story short, I did lose my father in February of this year.
right.
And it really affected me in a lot of different ways that I didn't even expect for it to affect me in. But just growing up in the home with my grandfather there, I was able to see how the design is set up, the way that a man carries the home, how he's the priest and over that particular home, how he guides and keeps everything in lines, protects and serves us. And what he did for my grandmother, you know, and how he took care of her. I watched that. I had a firsthand look and appreciation of how a man is supposed to treat a woman, because it's easy to say, you know, hey, well, you need to do this, you got to do this if you're gonna be with me. But if you see it and you have a pattern of it, then it's easier for you to follow that particular pattern. Now, I know personally I went away and strayed because of some dysfunction I had from my biological parents. So even though what I saw and what I, you know, experienced in my home, it just, you know, I had to navigate back to that, and it took a while for me to get there. But, you know, just, I'm not going to talk the whole show. We got our guest here. Hi, Dr.
Absolutely. Joining us is none other than Dr. Renita Wilson Gibbs, and she is she's the founder of Gibbs Empowerment LLC. She is an author. She's an advocate, and she certainly is my sister and a friend. And so, Dr. Renita, thank you so much for joining us today. We know that you are full of a wealth of information that can help us. I'm looking forward to this conversation. We've had brief conversations in the past about what you've been anointed to do. And so we just know that our guests, our viewers today will benefit so greatly from you being on our show today. So welcome to Real Women Atlanta Live.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Here is.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor and a blessing to be here.
Amen. So tell us, the Gibbs Empowerment LLC. Tell us about what your organization does. Tell us who you are. Just tell us.
Okay, guys, my name is Renita Gibbs, and I am the founder of Gibbs Empowerment. And it's an organization where we educate and empower young ladies as well as women on, you know, different life experiences. We're real big on personal development. So that's one of the things that we teach and we constantly, you know, implement in our programs. But our main organization is called Fresh Wisdom. Fresh Wisdom is an organization where we do our mentorship for young ladies between the ages of 8 and 17. And we also do life coaching for all ages of ladies of all ages, because what we're realizing, and I'm finding out that a lot of young ladies are, you know, adults, but they don't really understand their purpose. They don't know why they're here. You know, why am I just existing, or what is my purpose in life? And it's okay that you don't know your purpose. However, you know, through the coaching program and the mentorship, we help birth women into their purpose, help them find what their purpose is.
Wow. Incredible. And I know there's so much more that you have done in your life, but this Fatherless Daughter program that you do, I know that you go around, you speak about it, you have workshops and seminars and all that, you know, I don't really think that I truly understood the impact of growing up without a father present until I met you.
Wow.
And what it did for me was I was able to look back on the effects that it had on my life, and not just on my life, but I also saw it in my daughter. So tomorrow is Father's Day. There are a great number of women that are out here who grew up fatherless. And having said that, they possibly could have had a father in the home, but still that father wasn't present in their life. And so I really want to get into that and talk about that, because I want you to talk about how and what ways that really impacts the lives of women. and whatever else you want to share with us.
Well, you said a mouthful.
I
You
know.
are absolutely right. It's so amazing because I've been speaking a long time, for over about 20 years, and I never understood at the time when God allowed me to start speaking what my platform was going to be and who my audience was. I didn't discover that until 2010, who my audience and what my platform was going to be. But the fatherless daughter, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And the blessing in it to me, that when I'm out doing the work, I'm not only speaking to the individuals I'm talking to myself, because I'm still under construction and I'm still working on Renita, because being a fatherless daughter advocate, it's a community that we created about, I'm working directly with a young lady by the name of Angela Carr Patterson. Her and I worked very closely together. She's out of the South Carolina area. And what she did, she created an environment, a safe environment where individuals can come together and talk about their fatherless daughters' issues, their daddy wounds, and things that just keep resurfacing in their life, and how we can be a blessing to other individuals to help them deal with some of those areas. But she had to create that environment to make the female feel safe. But being, when we talk about fatherless daughters, like you said, you and I have had numerous conversations about it. But when a girl grow up without her dad, it leaves so many issues. She can, put it like this: a fatherless daughter is a female who grew up with an unavailable, unattached, or absent dad. Now, I don't know who. My dad was absent. He was not in my life at all. He walked out at the age of 6 and never returned. And that left a scar and it left me in a bad situation, because you're looking at a young lady who always wanted to be daddy's little girl, but I was never afforded that opportunity. Right. So it's a lot of females, like you said earlier, that's walking around that are fatherless daughters, and it's danger in not even knowing. They don't even know they're fatherless, because your dad could have been absent, like mine was. He could have been unavailable by way of military. It could have been a divorce. He could have been an alcoholic, or he could have just been unattached. It's a lot of young ladies out in the household with their fathers, and it's no connection there. So it's no attachment. He may be upstairs, she may be downstairs, but they have no bond, no attachment. So a girl can be fatherless by one of those 3 ways. But it's sad, because so many women had dads in the household, but still didn't know that they were fatherless.
Right.
And I want to kind of go in with that as well, because as I was saying earlier before you came in, Renita, that I grew up in a home with my grandparents and my mom. And so my grandfather was my father to me. Wow. He was everything that I could even hope or imagine to get in my biological father. He produced that for me. So, I had a great childhood. Everything was really great until I hit a pivotal moment in my 20s. And I started attracting the wrong type of men in my life. And no matter what I saw or what example that I had, it wasn't the same example that I was getting from my grandfather. So it prompted me, because, of course, you go from stage to stage to stage. Then I was having, kid after kid after kid behind that as well. And then finally it was like, okay, what's wrong with me? But I didn't feel, like you said, I didn't see or feel that until I became an adult. So once I became an adult, then it prompted me at the time to go and seek counseling. And that's when I went to the level of finding out, the dysfunction that I had between my parents and the things that I had to work through. But I'm 43 years old today and still working through it, Yes. My father, that I have my biological father, and then I have a father that I thought was my father growing up. Didn't find out until I was about 25. I was pregnant with my second son, and he passed away this February. And, with everything that transpired and went on, and, things of their adult stuff, I still yearned for him, and yearned for that place of just having a father within him in my life. And what I realized, even after his passing, that he didn't have to, stand up and say, you know what, I'm gonna be her dad. I'm gonna say and pronounce that name, because even with that, and that's a whole nother story, there's power in that. Just saying, this is my daughter, this is who she is to me, this is blah, 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 blah. And he announced that to everyone, so with that, I had to wrap all of that stuff, from what I did experience and what I didn't experience, and bottle it up and cover it with that. So it's amazing. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, out of nowhere as an adult. So if you want to kind of continue to speak concerning that, it's just, everyone doesn't get to the realization, as you said.
Right.
How do we get to that point? How do we get there?
Well, I think how we get there. Okay, let me just tell you a little bit of how my experience was, is that, all throughout my life, I was just dealing with things like, for instance, when I was a little girl and my daddy walked out, one of the things that I did, that one man that loves me, that I wanted to love me, he left me. Right. So that abandonment set up on me. And then what I did, I built a wall around my heart, and I said, no other man would hurt me. Right. So all throughout my childhood, and as I entered into my adulthood, I was looking for love in all the wrong places. Right. I never understood why I was never attracted to young men my age. I always dated older men because I was looking for a father figure and a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And it's so amazing because these fatherless daughter wombs, we call them daddy wombs, they kept showing up. I not only abandonment, I had trust issues. I had trust issues. Well, I didn't trust individuals. And that's because a girl gets her identity from her dad. So when her dad is in her life and he show her that he loves her unconditionally, and he show her that he's going to protect her, she feels secure. But when those things are not shown in her life, or she grows up without a daddy, that's when she starts having some trusting issues. Well, for me, it was just amazing because I just was in search of, I just could not continue to live on this planet the older I got without knowing who my daddy was, what he was to me, and how y'all took me.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. But, I was just so confused about that when I didn't have, that daddy in my life. I just struggled, and I was going through things, and I was dealing with things, and I didn't have a clue, and I didn't know what they were. And that was only after I went on the search to look for my dad. It's like one day I was laying in the bed, and I was raised by a single parent. My mother did a phenomenal job with me. But, as I got older, it's like God showed me that the other part of my life was wrapped up in my daddy's arms. And that prompted me to search for my dad. And I ended up finding my dad, and it was a beautiful thing after I connected with my dad. But once I connected with my dad, things started being revealed to me on why I was doing what I was doing. One prime example is that I had a running spirit. And that running spirit was when I saw trouble coming in a relationship, I broke up with you before you broke up with me. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know why I kept doing that. Relationship after relationship, I was always the one to break up with the person because my daddy had hurt me, and I didn't want nobody else to hurt me. So when I saw the trouble coming, I ran away from it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's being fatherless, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress because, like I said, you stay under construction and you're constantly working on yourself day in and day out. And it's really time for women to start being true to themselves about themselves and take the mask off. It's a lot of young ladies are hiding behind being fatherless. I don't know why they embarrassed or why they shame and they don't want people to know, but you're going to stay stuck and you're going to stay stagnated within your growth and where God wants you to be until you deal with it.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's interesting that you said that you had this spirit, this running spirit. And what it sounded like to me was going back to being abandoned by your father, you didn't want to be abandoned again by those that you were in a relationship with, so you bailed out before they could. That's what it sounded like to me.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. I ran away from the situation because at the time I didn't know what these daddy rooms was. They kept showing up over and over and over. And like you said, we look for love in the wrong place because we want validation from somebody.
Right.
So we go out there and we meet somebody and they tell us all the sweet nothings and we fall in love with them. But next thing we know, it's a rotten apple. So we got to, we repeat the process over and over and over. And like you said, it's a generational curse. And at some point, somebody got to stand up and say, we're going to stop it. Because, with what society and the TV is promoting, they're promoting it's okay to be fatherless. And, we didn't get the opportunity to choose our parents. They chose us. However, once we are raised and we don't have that, those individuals who are raised without their dad, it can be fixed. Because if he did it for me, he can do it for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sitting here listening to both you and Deidre about your experiences. And like you, Dr. Renita, my mother and my father, they were married for 17 years. They had me when I think they had been in 15 years of marriage. I was 2 when my mother and father got a divorce, and it was a pretty nasty divorce from what I understand. And at that point of the divorce, we were no longer allowed to have a relationship with our father, good, bad, or indifferent. We got caught up in that divorce. And so we weren't allowed to have a relationship with him. Now, I knew who he was. I would see him around sometimes, but wasn't allowed to go anywhere with him or spend any significant time with him. And so growing up, he wasn't there. And fast tracking years later, after moving here to Atlanta, I believe it was like towards the end of the 80s or the beginning of the 90s, I received a phone call from my mom. Now I'm an adult and I'm here living in Atlanta. And I received a phone call from my mom saying that my father had passed.
Wow.
Immediately I wanted to travel back to South Carolina to be present at my father's funeral. And when I told my mom that, she said there was no need because the funeral was going on right now. I felt robbed. I felt like, one, because of their anger towards each other, I never got an opportunity to know who he was for myself. And now I wasn't even given an opportunity to say goodbye to somebody that I never even got to know. And for years, I wondered how my life might have been different if I had had an opportunity to know him and had had some type of relationship with him. I wondered that for years. And that was also one of my prayers to God, was to allow me to know what that father-daughter relationship would be like. Almost like you said, wanting to be a daddy's girl, and have had friends who had their fathers present in their life and heard them talk about daddy and heard them talk about father and what that relationship was like and the things that he would do for them, buying them cars or taking them out to dinner or, just spending time with them. I yearned for that. And I think that we were created for that. That's how God created us. He created us to love and to be loved. And our first love would be God first and then our fathers. Right. And having that missing, I yearned for that. And it wasn't until I think maybe 10 years ago when I met a gentleman, an older gentleman, who became that father figure in my life. And I mean, he would nurture me. He would take me out to dinner, and he and his wife, and he would talk to me about things that fathers would talk about with their daughters. And I kind of got a glimpse of what that was like. But ultimately, I learned that although my biological or physical father wasn't there, that my spiritual father was. But I understand wholeheartedly what that means to not have that father present in your life to protect you and to guide you and direct you. There are things that they can do and they can say to you that your mom simply can't. So
Right.
true fathers really can't be replaced. And it's absolutely needed in the presence of young women, especially young women as well as young boys. So I wanted to share that with you all because I can relate to both of your stories as well.
And it's so amazing because, my situation was a little similar. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Okay, my situation was a little similar because the older I got, the more I want to find my dad and I want to know who he was. I had 23 chromosomes of this man. I need to know something. I need to know his DNA the older I got. And it's so amazing because I started asking my mother certain questions about my dad, and I got the same thing. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. It was like she was trying to push me away from me really getting to know my dad. And it was only by the grace of God that I was out on a speaking engagement. And all throughout my life, when my mother and my dad was having some marital problems, she took them to court for child support. And of course, we were afforded child support. But in the interim, when we used to go to the military hospital, because my father was a retired sergeant major, when we used to go to the military hospital, they always had to update the records. And when they updated the records, that's how I was able to get my father's address that I never had. So I used some old skip tracing tools to get the address. But once I got the address, I always kept it in my wallet because something in my gut, the Holy Spirit told me that one day I was going to meet him. So I was in North Carolina on a speaking engagement. And as I was driving to the hotel, I was in Raleigh, but I saw a sign that said Fayetteville was like so many miles down the road.
Right.
And I made it up in my mind at that time that I was going to knock on this man's door. It can't be no worse than what it was. Right. I needed closure. I needed some answers. And it turned out to be a beautiful thing because at the age of 39, I was able to find my daddy. And the way that he received me was totally different from the way that I thought it was going to be. But it was a beautiful thing because, my daddy didn't walk me down the aisle. Somebody stood in the gap for him. So I was my dad was able to walk me down the aisle. It was a beautiful experience when we was able to connect with one another. And it was just mind-boggling to me. But a lot of you guys don't understand. This is my story and I'm very passionate about it because, man, I don't want to break down, but oh my God, I'm very passionate about it because I was able to reconnect with this man. After all these years, I was able to connect with my daddy.
Wow.
And I didn't know it was going to be the last 6 months of his life.
Wow.
But God blessed me through the midst of everything that I did. And God granted me the last 6 months of his life. And he was able to walk me down the aisle. I was able to sit and talk to him. But when I met my dad, he was very ill and he was very sick. And it's like God heard my prayers. This man could not leave the earth until I found him. Because after I found him, we was able to make a connection. And like I said, we spent the last 6 months of his life together. And that was priceless. Everything that I went through compared to those last 6 months was priceless. Because even though he missed every birthday, pretty much, all my graduations through all my education, he missed. But those last 6 months was priceless, guys. You guys don't understand. This is my story, and I'm very passionate about it. And that's the reason why I'm telling these ladies, it's time that you start being true to yourself about yourself. We got to take this mask off and stop hiding behind the mask, because I understand the pain. I understand the hurt. Here I am traveling all over the country, speaking to the heart of women about my story. And I still get emotional because I always wanted that experience to be daddy's little girl.
Yeah.
And y'all don't understand, the first time that we went out and had dinner, after I found him the next day, y'all don't understand.
Wow.
I had the waiter to bring me a cake. And I told the waiter, it's not my birthday. He said, what are we celebrating? I told him, you don't even want to know. But I told my father, let's sit there and let's have a piece of cake together for every birthday that you miss.
Wow. Renita.
My. Y'all don't even understand. I am so passionate about girls who was raised without their dad.
Yes. Yes.
Becoming free. Because once you become free, the sky's the limit. You can conquer and do anything you want to do, but you can't continue to keep living in disbelief and fear and acting like it don't exist. Because, we as women, we make these cliches all the time. Oh, girl, you can't miss what you never had. Oh, we say all these things, but I know if your daddy walked in the room, even though you may say you can't miss what you never had, but if you saw your dad or was able to connect with their dad, it'll be a whole different conversation. Right. Because see, our outer body say one thing, but our inner say something totally different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that we have a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. You are now live. Caller, you are now live. Our station manager was just telling us that we had or have a viewer who is she can relate to everything that we're talking about today. That she says that our story is her story, and I can believe that there are many women that are out there that are listening to this today that can relate, who can relate to what we're talking about. Sometimes we don't understand why we do some of the things that we do, and how not having that male figure or that father in our lives affects us. Dr. Renita was talking about having abandonment issues, having trust issues, having self-esteem issues, because it took me a very long time before I had self-esteem or high self-esteem. It took me a very long time before I even had a voice. Things like this can silence you. To a point where you're being mistreated, abused, whatever, and you feel like it's something that you either deserve because your father wasn't there, or because you just simply feel like there's nothing that you could do about it. But we're doing this show today, as Dr. Renita said, to give women an out. It's something that we all need to deal with, because if you don't, it's going to continue to affect your life from this point on. It's not going anywhere. And so, we needed to do this show, and I'm so grateful, Dr. Renita, that you were available to join us today. What are some of the other ways that being fatherless affects our lives?
Oh, brother. it's a lot of it's. I'm trying to gather my thoughts. Y'all
It's
took me
okay.
there today.
It's okay.
I mean, like I said, the main thing that I see that a lot of young ladies are dealing with is just trying to get the validation from an individual who is not, looking for love in all the wrong places. They're
Mhm.
going through this cycle and they constantly keep repeating it over and
Mhm.
over and over. And like you said, it's tearing down their self-esteem and their self-worth, because a lot of women don't know their value. They
Right.
don't know their worth. And they get with these guys, and the guys tell them everything that they think they want to hear. And, they fall in these traps, and they trying to raise a family, and they have other young ladies, daughters and stuff, and the cycle just keep repeating itself over and over and over. And like I said, one of my things was dating older men. I didn't
Mhm.
understand why I was attracted to older men.
Mhm.
It's a lot of women out there being very promiscuous. I
Mhm.
mean, throwing their bodies all over just for attention. I work in an environment where I see thousands and thousands of people on a daily basis. And it's so amazing because God has given me the spirit of discernment that I can just see a female and I can see that she is a fatherless daughter. And when
Mhm.
I try to have an adult conversation with her by asking her, was she raised by in a single parent household? Sometimes they start to get angry and they get mad when you try to have these conversations with them, but you're only trying to help them because you see some of the same things that you experienced or you went through on them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
It's a lot of young ladies out there who has not been afforded the opportunity like I was to find my father.
Right.
So I tell them, if your father is deceased or he's no longer with us, write your dad a letter of
Yeah.
all the things that you want to say with him. Release yourself of that. Stop holding it.
Right.
Write him a letter. After you write him a letter, you can burn the letter, you can bury the letter, but you got to get it out of you. And
Right.
you got to be therapeutic, and you got to talk to somebody and share with them what's going on with you. Because if not, like you said, these things going to keep showing up and keep showing up over and over on a daily basis, and you're never going to get to the root of what's going on. Because see, fatherless daughters are not crazy. We
Right.
just have patterns. We have patterns that constantly follow us.
Right.
And if you don't address those patterns or deal with them, you're going to find yourself taking them to a relationship after relationship after relationships. And even being a fatherless daughter, it can even linger on through a friendship you may have with a female.
Right.
Because it's that one component, not having a father in our life, is priceless. I
Yeah.
mean, that one thing that we didn't have growing up, that daddy figure, has scoped us and developed us into who we are today. And
Right.
it's our responsibility to reach out to individuals who want to be very transparent and who want to, like myself, expose who I am to be a blessing to help somebody. See, a
Right.
lot of people I talk to, they say, Renita, you're not embarrassed or you're not hurt or you're not, afraid of people knowing your business. I say, tell the truth to shame the devil. I
Right.
can't continue to live. I'm 49 years old. I don't want what's that? I don't want my latter to be like, I don't want my greater years to be like my latter years. Or maybe I got
Mhm.
that backwards. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I had to deal with what I was dealing with because I saw how far it brought me.
Right.
Yeah, and Dr. Renita, I just want to kind of
Woo.
touch on um, something you spoke earlier, and even how it's being led out through our conversation now, which is generational curses. A lot of people don't know about them; they're unaware of them, um, and may even seem to think that they may not even be real. A personal experience for myself of what I've encountered and endured with the transition in my life. First, I want to say before I even get into that is to all the women that are listening at this point who has a daughter. Um, and you may be experiencing some type of, whether it's a divorce, whether it's just a normal breakup, please, I am pleading with you to remove the venom from your heart that would not allow your child to experience both of their parents. Remove that place, because I have 5 children, 3 boys, 2 girls. And I had a really, really, really rough time with my oldest son. And we went through a joint custody battle, and it was a tug of war for probably the entire span of his life. And regardless of what I was feeling toward my ex or what he was feeling toward me, my desire has always been for them to experience the both of us. And it hurts. I had actually a few nervous breakdowns behind it because of everything that I had to endure. But what I was never going to do was keep the opportunity for my children to know who their father was, because of what I experienced and what I lacked. And another thing, with my daughters, and we're talking about daddy's girl and things of that such. My grandfather, of course, is my mother's father. That's her dad. And I had the opportunity to be able to take him in, but he was still my grandfather, and I had the daddy, girl type mentality with him, but I didn't have it with my own father. So I was determined in my life, no matter the things that I went through, the people who I've encountered, my daughters were going to be able to experience that very thing. So anything that was in my heart towards that man, towards the situation at hand, had to go, because it stopped with me. Right. It wasn't going to continue to cycle on through them, because they deserved better than what I had to endure. And I knew the pain, even now talking about it, and I'm trying to hold myself together. Yeah. The pain from different stages in my life, adolescent to teenager, to college, to an adult, even now, I want to be able to call my dad and say, hey, Dad, this and this and this, and have been unable to do that, So let's get our minds and our hearts and our spirits in a place to break down these generational curses and give our daughters and even our sons an opportunity to experience the both of us. When I went to counseling is when I really found out my dysfunction. Yeah. Okay. Because when there's a mother and a father that creates a one seed, that child has to be able to pull from what was created within that one seed, from the both of them. So it's not our place to take that away from them. And I just wanted to express that today, because it does something to the child, and it takes on to and you're building and you're planting seeds that should not be there. Right.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Deidre. I used to be an advocate for child support with an organization out of Toledo, Ohio. And and it was an organization that was more pro-mom than anything.
Hello.
And, what I shared was that if the father is willing and able to participate in that child's life, then you as mother, you owe that child that much. You owe them the opportunity to get to know who that father is. So I totally agree with you that if you have a father who is a good father, a great father, a father who wants to be available in that child's life, and consistently, let me say that, consistently, because if you're not, and that goes for both parents, but if you're not consistent, that can cause some damages as well. So, but I want to say to the women that are out there, absolutely allow your children to, or allow that father to be present in the lives of those children. Sometimes that's worth more than money.
Mhm.
And it is worth more than money. So we definitely we need to do that. But you know, even my own daughter, her father chose not to play a part in her life at the age 2, and he disappeared for over 11 years. And the one thing that I chose to do was to not speak ill of him, because at the end of the day, I made a conscious decision to be in that relationship with him. And so it would be wrong for me to speak ill of her father, or her dad, you know, who she was made up of, you know, both of us. And so later on, you know, they developed a relationship. And I remember him calling me one day and thanking me for not saying anything bad about him. Because ultimately, like I said, it would have had more of an effect on her than it would on me. And so I did not want that. And I wanted her to know who he was, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. She had to make that decision on her own. And so, so yeah, I totally agree. We've had some callers that have been calling in. I think that it's such a painful issue. Even as our station manager Raheem has said, it's such a painful issue that a lot of our viewers, it's hard for them to speak on. So today we have to be that voice for them.
You know what, Charmaine, you know, just listening to both of you guys, all I ever wanted was closure. That's all I wanted. I had to get closure with my daddy daughter experience. And it's so amazing that when I did connect with my dad, he had a whole nother family. I had siblings and everything that I didn't even know about. And it's so amazing that people just automatically assume that you're after money. And all I wanted was closure because I wanted to I wanted to push past my pain. And I never forget, after I connected with my father, I was laying in the bed and God showed me that the journey that I had been on was not for me. I
Mm,
needed to be obedient and put my journey in a book. And that's how this book got birthed, Finding Daddy. That's my
mm,
book. I released this book in 2011. It's called Finding Daddy. You can find it on Amazon. But I put my story in a book so I can be a blessing to help some individuals, so I can expose who I am and what I went through. And in that book, it's going to make you laugh, it's going to make you cry, but it's going to help you because, like some of the callers have said, my story is their story.
mhm, mhm,
And if you're a female out there in the social media world or listening to us as we all talk about our stories, and you're ready to say yes to your father-daughter wounds, you're ready to say yes to not being ashamed no more of being a fatherless daughter, allow me to help you, show you how you can turn your pain into your passion, because it's
mm,
too much work out here for us. And we need to collectively come together and help these young ladies, because just like the co-host said, this is a generational curse. It is going to keep going on and on and on if we don't stop it, or if we don't bring awareness to it by showing these girls, educating them, letting them know that this is not the way that God instituted things to be. Now,
right,
things happen. Yes, you know, we may lose a loved one, things that happen beyond our control, but we still, as seasoned saints, We got to reach down and pick some of these young ladies up and some of the older young ladies, because they said that all the secrets are in the graveyard.
Mm.
And I talk to women who are much older than I am, and they still going to their grave with being angry and being mad and being upset by things that happened with their daddy 30, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we can't continue to live a fruitful life and help somebody living like that.
Right.
So many women that I talk to are still mad and don't know how to deal with things. They got all kind of books out there that, you know, people read and pick up. But we as individuals, and I say myself when I say we, people need a roadmap. People need to be able to touch and feel somebody who said, if he did it for her, he can do it for me. They need to know where I was. You guys see, here I am traveling, speaking to thousands of people, but I still have those moments where I break down because this is passion for me. This is no cliche. This ain't something I'm just doing just to be doing. Like I said, my platform, he just showed me this about 10 years ago, what he want me to do. So I know my purpose in life. This is my purpose. It's to constantly bring awareness about being fatherless, because, you know, it touched every nationality.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to Hungary, same situation. Wherever you go, you got fatherless girls, fatherless daughters. And we just need to continue to create that community where we can come together, love on each other, and don't worry about who know what, and stop being ashamed and just get delivered from father-daughter issues.
And our station manager, Raheem, he's being really generous with us today, Dr. Renita. He's allowing us to continue to go with this broadcast until 2:30. I want to invite our listeners to call in. If you are a fatherless daughter, or if you want to speak on this subject, please call in. Even if it's a painful situation for you, because you never know. Sometimes your testimony can be a blessing to somebody else. It could start the healing process for you as well as for someone else. And so we're going to continue the conversation until 2:30. Normally we end our broadcast at 1:00, but it's such a great subject that we need to continue with this conversation. You mentioned several times being fatherless girls, and what's in my spirit is, for many of us, that little girl, or being daddy's girl, wanting to be daddy's little girl. And so for many of us that are now grown women, that little girl still exists.
Absolutely.
That little girl is still yearning for daddy, still, especially when we get into painful situations where maybe divorce has occurred, or abandonment issues, or being cheated on, or whatever. That little girl still yearns for daddy to come and rescue her. That just resonated with my spirit when I heard you say daddy's little girl, or being a fatherless girl. That little girl still exists. And one of my good friends was talking to me years ago, and she was telling me, she's a beautiful person. She is a boss chick down to the letter. And what she said to me was, many times when she gets up in the morning, she has to put on this exterior of being that boss chick. When she comes out into the public and goes into her profession, she has to put on that image of being a boss chick. But what she said to me was, what a lot of people didn't realize or don't realize is that late at night, there's a little girl that crawls out from underneath her bed, and she cries because she doesn't know who her identity is because her father wasn't there. So there are a lot of women that can relate to what we're talking about, and I believe that we have a caller right now. Caller, if you're on the line and you want to share with us or ask a question, please go ahead. You're on.
Good afternoon. Beautiful topic. Just enjoying the exchange that you ladies are having. I know Dr. Gibbs personally, and I know that she is always reaching out to young women. So I'm just enjoying the conversation.
And your name, ma'am?
Julie McGee.
Well, Ms. McGee, thank you so much for joining us today. It is a very important subject, and we're honored and happy that we have Dr. Gibbs on our show today. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Gibbs, did you want to respond?
Well, I just want to say thank you to Miss McGee for just joining in. Her and I have had several conversations, and I just commend her because normally anytime I have any kind of open dialogue, she always support me. So I want to tell her thank you for her support. And speaking of that, let me just tell you how funny God is. You know, I told you I was raised without my dad and everything, but God has blessed me, and I've been married 23 years. He blessed me with a God-fearing man. And it's so funny because being submissive is a part of, being, it has something to do with, I didn't see that growing up. So I didn't know none of these things. So these are things that I had to learn. And, from time to time, things come up in me and come out of me. And I have to tell my husband, baby, I'm sorry. This is one of my daddy wounds showing up. Work with me. Because, in the midst of all that I went through and all the things that I struggled with, God still honored me and blessed me with a God-fearing man who was really who loved me in spite of, and who's there for me and support me through the midst of all this. Wow. And it's amazing because I speak to the heart of the women, but it's like God is making a shift in me also, because one time me and my husband was on we was in a golf tournament, and we was on a rain delay. And while we was on the rain delay, I told my husband, I said, look, I got all these books in the car. I said, and I'm the product of what some of these men in this room has done to women. I said, so I asked the guy who had facilitated the event, is it okay if I speak to the men? Since it was raining, there was nothing we can do. We was all in the clubhouse. So make a long story short, I started speaking to the men and just explaining to them the effect that it has on us when they do things such as walk out of our lives, not there, not supportive, and everything. And it's amazing because a lot of the men was just making comments on, that's why my wife do what she do. That they wasn't even happy with being at home. Half of the men told me that's the reason why they play golf and they be gone half of the day because their wife got a lot of baggage and they never really understood what was going on with her. And it was such a blessing because so many men had reached out to me, and I sold all the books I had, and they bought them for their girlfriends or they bought them for their wives, and they was just so honored. So not only is fatherless daughters dealing with certain things, you got a lot of men out there that are fatherless too, and they don't know really who they are. They're trying to grow up to be a man, but they didn't have that daddy figure as well, and they're trying to become that man, and they're trying to learn it from out here on the street or learn it from the TV because the daddy wasn't there to show them how to tie a tie. The daddy wasn't in there like to show them how to put how to change a car tire, or even how to tie a tie around your neck. So it's so amazing on how God is making a shift in me by showing me that it's two sides to this thing. Yeah. I go into some of the prisons sometime and talk to some of the men and females that's incarcerated. And that's the first things they say. If I had a daddy in my life, I probably wouldn't be here. I don't want them to play the victim or the blame game, but I mean, men are dealing with some of the same things as well, and they don't really understand, what route to go.
Simply the reality of it all. That's just simply how important it is to have both mother and father in your life, because those things do affect us. I was also thinking about the women, and we talked about abandonment issues, or fathers who aren't present. But my spirit is also picking up on women who may have had their fathers in their home, but they were the wrong type of father. Maybe they were abusing their mom, or they witnessed abuse, or maybe they received abuse themselves, or molestation. There's a lot of issues that come with being fatherless. And again, we're not talking about fathers who aren't there physically, but just fathers who aren't available. Or like you said, I mean, they could be there, but be there in the wrong way. These things impact our lives greatly.
And I also want to just kind of add a different component with that as well. As there are women who are watching and listening, there are also men, as Dr. Renita said, that are in this particular place, or don't just hadn't seen it, didn't have the roadmap to know what to do. And as you all were speaking, my mind and my spirit just went to my childhood and my grandparents. And I would see him, kissing her all the time. He was like always laughing with her, sitting with her. They would go to Dairy Queen. That soft serve was a big thing for them, and seeing that interaction with them. I think it's very important that children get to experience that. And sometimes as women, we get so involved in, I got it. I didn't have it, so I'm just going to take this and wave my independent flag, and I'm going to do everything that I need to do. These kids will be fine. I'm going to make sure they're provided for. I'm going to give them everything they need. But that element is missing. So when they get into relationships, they don't know what to do. They don't have a pattern of seeing, okay, well, dad used to take mommy on dates, and big brother had to babysit us while we went out. Or mom, you would see mom blush every time dad walked in the door and say, hey, beautiful, or see that he was taking care of, the finances in the house and making sure that, okay, this and this was done or that was done, and all the things that we need. The bottom line is we need fathers. We need them. There is no way around it. Unfortunately, there are all sorts of different cases, good, bad, and ugly. But as you are here today, I just commission you to, allow a space to open in your heart and your spirit to be able to receive what's being spoken today, so that it can change the dynamic of your life, the dynamic of your family. And if you're not in a position of doing, then let this penetrate your heart and your spirit as well, and then be able to posture yourself. I don't know what your faith is. I don't know what you believe or what you know. I know that I believe in Jesus Christ and who he is, and I have to posture myself to him in order for him to lead me, because I can't do any of this by myself. I don't know how to. And some things that I did have direction on, and other things I did not have direction on. But if just listening today, I just ask you to open your hearts and your spirits to be able to redesign, because family is important. We need you. We need you, Black men. We need you, men, to be fathers in every way and every aspect for our kids. And they need to see the design so that we can end what was said about us, what we're not, what they're saying that we're not capable of doing, because we have way more successful stories than we do bad ones. But a lot of people in media aren't saying anything about it. But does not mean that we can't make minor adjustments. As Charmaine said, their father may be in the house, but he may not know how to show affection because he's never seen it. He doesn't understand and he doesn't know. But listen today so that you will be able to know and be able to, open that space up to feed on today.
And I want to say to all of our callers that are on the line, if you could just simply mute your phone, because we're getting some background interference. So we're just asking you to simply mute your phone for us. We appreciate it. Cynthia, I was reminded of hearing women say that I am both, especially on Father's Day. People for those who don't have their fathers, you'll hear women will say, I've been the mother and the father, and I know you both have heard that. What do you say to that, Dr. Renita?
Say that again, Charmaine.
I know you've heard women who don't have their husbands or have the father of the children there. But you'll hear them say sometimes, I've been the mother and the father in my children's life.
Okay. Well, in that case, that's interesting. They've been the mother and the father in their life.
Have you heard women say that before? That I've been the mom and the dad. I've been the father. In other words, I've been the one that's taking care of these children.
Or they will go to the extent as well to say, well, happy Father's Day to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm the dad.
Yeah.
How do you think about that?
Well, I mean, my mom was the same way. I never really, I guess we did say happy Father's Day to her because we didn't have him in our life. So she was our mother and our father. However, I would just say hats off to those ladies who are doing both, who are double dipping on both sides and standing in the gap for those fathers. But, my mother did it. She did an outstanding job. And I know your mother cannot give you the things that a father can give you. However, in the situation, we just have to love on the parents who are out there in that arena who's doing both.
Right. Yeah. And it's like you said, we have to understand the roles in which we were created.
Right.
Mothers can never take the place of fathers. Fathers can never take the place of mothers. And we, like you said, hats off to those that have done both or are doing both. But we still have to realize that that child needs to experience having a father. I many times when I'm out, I see young women that are with a young man and they're getting into a car or about to enter into a building. And the first thing she does is she grabs for the car door or she grabs for the door and she opens it. And I know that this is it's just an example of things that fathers would teach their daughter. Step back and allow the young man to open the door. And if a young man doesn't open the door for you, then you need to question that because you are worth it. And I guess it goes back to also what you mentioned, Dr. Renita, about knowing our value, knowing our worth as women. And a lot of that is connected to having an active father in our lives.
Or sometimes you have to find a role model or somebody who you believe is a role model to stand in the gap for that individual. If a dad, if a mom is a single mom and she's raising boys or she's raising girls, sometimes she can find a dad or somebody else's dad or somebody who she admire or respect to stand in the gap to give her son and her daughter those daddy type figures. Because even if your dad is still alive, it's still not too late for you to get it right.
Right.
If it's your decision and if that's your choice.
Right.
A lot of people tell me, Renita, what do I do? He don't want to have anything to do with me. He don't want to be bothered with me. if you still want, I mean, if your dad is still alive, you still have the opportunity to get it right. Don't worry about the outcome. You just do your part to get it right. Never would have thought that I would be the person to tell my father when he was sick and he went to ICU that if he was ready to go on home to glory, he can. I never thought I had that opportunity, but standing in the ICU with my father when he was real sick and real ill, after I got to know my father and we was able to talk and bond, I was able to tell him, if you're ready to go on to glory, you can, because now I got closure. I got what I was looking for, even though I wasn't allotted the time frame that I wanted, but I still got closure. And I was able to tell my dad, if you're ready to go on, you can go on. And shortly after that, he passed. But I think this is the 10th or the 11th Father's Day that I have been able to really enjoy my Father's Day. My husband and I are traveling. I'm on the road. If you can see, I'm in a hotel room and he's waiting on me to finish, because before 10 years ago, I used to break down and I used to cry and I used to be a mess for Father's Day. And I didn't think it was fair or even right, because I never really allowed my husband to really enjoy his Father's Day because I was so wounded.
Right.
So now, due to the fact that I'm helping so many people and I'm helping myself, I'm able to celebrate my husband and show him and love on him and give him the type of Father's Day that I always wanted.
Right. Right.
Because I have turned my pain into my passion. So now all the things that I used to hurt from and used to deal with, I'm using it as a catalyst to help somebody get out of the rut they getting out of. And you know what, Charmaine, I just want to put this out there. I have an event coming up in September. So I would love to be able to personally meet any of the callers, or even, for them to meet me personally. So, it's going to be September the 19th coming up. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. I can give you, it's an event. It's called Pearly Whites. Get your smile back. It's time to get unstuck from being stuck. And that's the name of the event. It's called Pearly Whites. And I have a phone number that I would like to give you if anybody's interested in it. It's 404-940-8554. They can call that number to get more details, but I'd love to meet any of the listeners in person and talk to them and share whatever I can share with them. So I want to give that out to let them know that I'm available.
Awesome.
And we'll continue to promote that as well. Pearly Whites, get your pearly whites back. I think we all need that. We all need that. This has been an amazing show, a very important show. I'm glad that we were able, and honestly, I have to give all the credit to Deidre, because this is such a busy weekend, and we were trying to book a guest, and Deidre was the one who reminded me that this was the weekend of Father's Day, and I remembered you, Dr. Renita, and I believe, Deidre, you had met her at the luncheon that we had, and you were totally amazed.
Yeah. And I wanted to say that before she left here, as well, is I remember being at the luncheon with you, and we connected. Like, I was in the back helping with the food, and Charmaine was like, I want you to meet Dr. Renita, this and that. I said, okay. So I came out and we sat in the back. I don't know if you remember. We sat in the back and we talked about everything, and just the encounter with you for those few minutes, it was just amazing. And even then, I saw the discernment and the power that lied within you, because we were even talking about, people that were there that weren't being transparent. You were able to see through all of them. You're like, no, they just, no. And I was like, amen. That's right. But I was able to connect with you in the spirit then. So I was so happy to be able to hear that and see, the flyer. And I'm like, okay. We got her in. So I'm excited that you're here. And I really appreciate and I look forward to our relationship growing as well.
Very good. Very good. Well, I appreciate that compliment. And, I'm just glad to be here. And however God used me, I'm just a vessel willing to be used by God. And, he has truly showed me this is my platform, daughter. This is where I want you to be. And this is what I want you to do. And, my passion speaks for everything. I can't teach this. And see, that's the blessing in me being here. I never have to prepare because I lived it. I walked in these shoes. So when Charmaine called me yesterday, I was like, okay, no problem. I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Because this is something that I walked in. So I don't have to prepare a speech or none of that because this is who I am. And it's so amazing because every time I speak, every presentation is pretty much different because I cater to my audience. I cater to the spirit that's in the atmosphere. And I may talk about the same thing, but every time it's different. But I'm just honored to be a guest, and I'm looking forward to our long-term relationship and our friendship. And Charmaine has all my information for all the listeners and all the readers. All the social media world. So, hey, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. And, I know 2020 has been a little rough start for us, but, 2021 is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And I think collectively it's enough work out there for all of us.
Absolutely. Before we end this, I heard you say daughter, and you were talking in relations to your in regards to your relationship with your spiritual father, God the Almighty. For those that are fatherless, what can you tell them about how you developed your relationship or you obtained your relationship with the ultimate father? What can you say to that, Dr. Renita?
I would just say, just continue to pray and just believe. All you got to do is have the seed, the faith of a mustard seed, and he will honor that. When I didn't know what to say to God, I used to pray for wisdom, and that God allowed me the opportunity to be able to make this connection. And I put all my trust and I put all my faith in him, and he just blows my mind every day. So, only thing that I would say, just continue to study, to show thyself approved, and just continue to be a blessing to individuals. Understand that this is not about you. It's about how many people you can help and how many lives you can change. Remove yourself out of the equation and just go out and make huge steps. Whatever God tell you to do, do it. Do not second guess it. God say walk forward and walk big and look for big things, and he will give you the desires of your heart. But you got to have the faith, and you got to have the trust, and you got to believe him, and you cannot walk in fear, and you cannot think that you're doing this all by yourself. Along the way, other people are going to come and they're going to be able to help you, but you got to be able to be a blessing by helping other people. So just stay focused on what's in your heart. And like you said, if you don't know God, get with somebody who know God to help you get yourself where you need to be.
Amen. And can I add right behind that? You also mentioned a little bit earlier as far as our parents, and we don't get to choose them. But guess what? Our Heavenly Father chooses you in every area, every place in your life, wherever you are. It doesn't matter, if you're thinking, well, God, I'm like this or I'm like that. No, he chooses you every single time.
Wow.
And, I was listening to something the other day, and that's what it said. And I had to call a girlfriend when I saw it. I was working out, and as I was working out, God said that everything that you need is already in you. You just got to believe that it's there and just walk it out. It's nothing else. You don't need no more. Everything you need to do the things that he wants you to do is already there. All you got to do is start activating the things that he have already put in you. You know what I'm saying? We sit back and we try to procrastinate and wait. And I can't wait. I can't do this. I'm out of town traveling. I have books with me, and I got lives I need to touch when I leave here. It's my goal, and my job is to touch the lives of the individuals who I know God has sent me to talk to. Nothing happens by accident. When I checked into this hotel, God showed me at that time, this is a new daughter that I'm going to bless you with. I'm 49 years old, and it's so amazing. I don't have a daughter. See, God didn't bless me with a daughter because he knew this work was going to be for me. So anytime he sends somebody in my life, it's another daughter. It's another daughter that I have. And I consider that my daughter, whether she's older than me or whether she's younger than me.
Right.
He comes to giving me new daughters. And I got work to do in this lobby of this hotel with this young lady. He showed me everything when I was checking in. It just so happened I put it on hold.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Dr. Renita, I think we lost your sound. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah,
But
it was muted.
yeah.
There we
No,
go.
what I was saying, I had the honor, what I said I was going to do, being a woman of integrity, as far as take care of the call. And then I'm going to go back and do what God told me to do with the young lady at the front desk, because he's constantly blessing me with daughters. And I receive them because I know it's work to be done.
Yeah.
Right. Well, again, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on our show today. I would like to say to the viewers that although you may have felt abandoned, you've been hurt, you've been abused, you feel like you can't trust anyone, know that your Heavenly Father, God the Almighty, would never leave you nor forsake you. He will never abandon you. His desire is that you would be prosperous in all areas of your life, that you would receive the desires of your heart. That's the type of father, the type of daddy, the type of that's who he is. He wants nothing but good for you. So my prayer is that you would tap into a relationship with him. I also believe that sometimes people are not there in our lives for a specific reason. Maybe it's something that would have caused harm. I remember in the Bible that after the age of 13, we don't hear about Joseph anymore, the father of Jesus. We don't hear about him anymore, which tells me that at some point he may have passed on or was no longer connected, but he always had his mother there. God does everything for a reason and for purpose. And so my hope and my desire would be that you would reach out to God, as Dr. Renita said, write a letter to your biological father, but I would also be remiss not to say to you, write a letter to your Heavenly Father as well. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. Renita. If you want to go ahead and give your information again, your social media information, contact information, where people can buy your books. If you'll go ahead and share that with them before we end the show.
Okay, they can buy the book on Amazon. They can type in my first name, Renita Gibbs, my first and last name, Renita Gibbs, or they can type in the title of the book, Finding Daddy. Once again, this is what the book looked like. And if they want to reach out to me on Facebook, it's Renita Wilson Gibbs, Renita Renita Wilson Gibbs, as well as on Instagram, it's just Renita Gibbs on IG. Renita Gibbs on IG, Facebook, Renita Wilson Gibbs, and my email address is realness, REALNESS with Renita at gmail.com. Realness with Renita at gmail.com. I look forward to receiving emails and information for individuals, and I look forward to working with you guys soon. And I really appreciate the opportunity allowing me to be a guest on the show this evening. Absolutely. And it's so amazing. You never know the impressions you make on people, because even though Miss Gray is sharing that with me, I remember us talking, but you just never know the impressions that you make on people, because we was laughing and having a good time, and look at it. It was some kind of impression I made on your life, and I really appreciate that compliment.
Absolutely. And let us not forget, September the 19th, we'll be getting your pearly whites. Is it getting your pearly whites again?
Right.
We'll remember to continue to share that with our listeners and viewers. Deidre, any last words?
Yes, I just want to wish all the amazing fathers a happy Father's Day. I'll be with my sisters. As I said, I just lost mine in February, but he was a wonderful, amazing man. And I love you in heaven, Daddy. And I thank you for being my newfound angel. And I just want to wish each and every father out there a happy Father's Day. We celebrate you on this day.
Happy Father's Day to our station manager, Raheem. Happy Father's Day. And
Happy Raheem.
And
Deborah, we appreciate that extra time too. Thank
absolutely,
you.
Yes.
absolutely. That's the sign of a great man.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. We will be here next week, same time, same place, with another yet amazing guest. So join us next week. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, take care, guys.